My name is Chamunorwa Kapita from Agri-Rocket Engineering. Like I said before, I specialize more in agricultural engineering, and I'm also an entrepreneur, a farmer as well. Today, I would want to focus more on smart agricultural structures that allow farmers to produce more using less, considering that there is climate change. We used to know that drought comes after 10 years, like in 92, 91, and in 82, 81. But nowadays, we are experiencing more than four to five droughts per decade. We used to have two droughts per decade. So things are changing. So we need to have smart structures. These structures, when they are being designed, they are designed in a way that they increase efficiency, they increase also productivity, and they are faster, cheaper, and easy to construct when compared to old traditional brick and mortar structures. So in general, that's what we want to focus on today. We want to focus on smart modern structures. Um, so maybe someone would want to understand why considering smart agricultural structures. Like I mentioned also that they allow you to use less and produce more. So we have to appreciate and to understand that farming is more on animals and crops. So we have structures for crops and we have structures for animals as well. So for at Agri-Rocket Engineering, we do greenhouses for crops. It's a structure basically for crops, and we know and we understand that farming can be done on open field farming as an open field farming, but we have to appreciate that there are challenges associated with open field farming. Open field farming, considering that there is climate change, we are now experiencing harsh weather conditions, extreme weather conditions. We now have new languages in our vocabulary, like as Zimbabweans, like heat wave. It's in these days where we start to hear these words like um heat wave. This is due to climate change. Climate is changing. When there is a change in climate, we need also to appreciate that we need to change our methods of farming. We need to change also our structures that we are using. Why? Because if we don't change, we are not going to produce as much as we want. So for crops at Agri-Rocket Engineering, we do greenhouses. We have many types of greenhouses. Like we have three types of greenhouses. We have the wooden greenhouses, we have the hybrid greenhouses, we have the metal greenhouses. But these greenhouses were designed to meet specific climate in Zimbabwe. Were designed to meet as well the budget of farmers in Zimbabwe. But also, we need to take into consideration that when you are using a greenhouse, you you are now covered against the harsh weather conditions. Like in the winter, you can do your farming, your proper horticultural farming. In summer as well, because those extreme temperatures that we are now experiencing, they can damage our crops. But with a greenhouse, we use a covering, we use a plastic, a UV treated plastic with a layer that filters sunlight so that our crops cannot be scorched. So at the end of the day, you'd find that considering greenhouse farming will give you more quality, more yield, and as well protecting you against diseases, because in a greenhouse it's a controlled environment. So we need to consider greenhouses as a modern structure compared to open field farming. I would like you to understand and to know that on open field farming, you can't do high value crops, you can't do hybrids that are of more value. Why? Because they need more time as well. Like when you're doing tomatoes, in a greenhouse, you can do 1 year production, but outside, you can't do 1 year production because tomatoes, they don't do well in winter. I know there's this is it a series which says winter is coming. I'm not sure if we approach winter or winter comes, whatever the case might be, but we need to appreciate and to understand that some of our horticultural crops, they don't perform well in winter. So we need greenhouses. And some of our horticultural crops, not most of, if not most of them, they don't perform well in rain season. Like tomatoes, for example, I'm taking an example of tomatoes. We know that tomatoes in winter, they can they can be affected by frost. If they are not affected by frost, they will not grow. If they don't grow, they sometimes dry. So at the end of the day, you need to improve. You need to move from open field farming to greenhouse farming. This allows you to produce more using less. I'll talk more about how do you produce more using less in a greenhouse. But for now, I'm just laying a foundation for you to appreciate the importance of having a greenhouse as a farmer. So, while least we are still on the advantages of a greenhouse, you need to know that in rain season, like any other vegetables like rape, cover, they don't do well. Why? Because in rain season, we start to have more diseases. That's when we start to have more those things that fly, zvinokambaira, and those things are the ones zvinofamba nezvirwere zvinouya zvichikandirira mazai mumaplants edu. At the end of the day, we don't have healthy plants or crops. Why? Because they are being affected with more diseases. But in a greenhouse, we cannot have insect trespassing. We cannot have insect getting inside the greenhouse because it's a protected environment. So as a business person or as a farmer who is taking farming as a business, you need to consider greenhouses because they give you the cutting edge of the competitive edge that you deserve as a farmer. So when it comes to these greenhouses, commercial greenhouses, they start at 100 square meter size wise. That's 10 meters by 10 meters. In that greenhouse, we encourage you, or we mostly um, encourage farmers to plant three types of crops here in Zimbabwe. Why? Because in Zimbabwe, they have ready market like tomatoes, English cucumber, pepper. Those three crops, they have a ready market here in Zimbabwe. So you can you can plant them at any given time. But if you want to do blueberries, if you want to do strawberries, some chilies that are exported in India, you need to consider the the market specs first before you do your planting, because those are special crops that you need to that requires you to have specific variety, specific chemicals to use, specific fertilizers, specific methodology to use, specific irrigation, even qualifications of people. You need to have those specific things so that your product will be accepted in that market. But in general, in Zimbabwe, we have a wider market for tomatoes, English cucumber, and pepper. So under greenhouse, if you do those crops, you produce more and of high quality, and you can have more. Considering when you are doing crops like maize, those crops they do well outside the greenhouse, and we don't encourage farmers to do greenhouse farming of those crops because they are low value crops. We encourage high value crops in greenhouses. Um, so I would say on that greenhouse, 100 square meter, 10 meters by 10 meters, we call it commercial because when you want to supply to OK or any other supermarket, they would say we want someone who can produce, for example, 200 kgs of tomatoes. So that greenhouse has a capacity to produce that 200 kgs on a weekly basis. So you can sell your tomatoes. Farmers should understand and appreciate that they are wholesalers. They are not the end retailers. So when they are selling in bulk. So we would do say at any given time you can sell your tomatoes at 50 cents per kgs. I like numbers, so I go deep with numbers so that you can appreciate the nitty gritties and you can see that these things are measurable. So at the end of the day, if you sell 200 kgs at 50 cents, you are getting $100 per week. With that greenhouse in Zimbabwe, generally it goes for 1,500, and it comes with everything. It's a 10K project. That greenhouse comes with irrigation system, fertigation system, trellis support structure, the structure itself. Us as AgriRocket, we then give you an agronomist to show you the way. We hold your hand and show you the way. We train you how to do it, such that the next season you can do it on your own. So we also give you insurance. It's not wise for you to be protected against weather, while at least you are not protected against some other unforeseen things like political violence, fire, hailstorms. We give you insurance. That greenhouse with that 1,500, it will be under insurance as well. So we need to understand that we do sell samples as well under that same charge. This is a smallest commercial greenhouse, and your payback period, if it's a wooden greenhouse, it will be a one season. So I encourage farmers to do greenhouse farming as a way of modern farming. So an average greenhouse, it's a 300 square meter greenhouse, which is 10 meters by 30 meters. It can accommodate 1,000 tomatoes. We can do also figures including pepper and English cucumber. But for now, I'm using tomatoes because tomatoes are the worst case scenario. We want to give you the worst case scenario because we don't want people to think that farming is just an easy thing. You can go into farming today and you do your things, and tomorrow you are rich, and you need to know it's as other business. It's as good as mining, is as good as manufacturing. It's as normal as other businesses. There are losses. There's a learning curve. All those things you need to take them into consideration. So I'm talking about 1,000. I'm talking about 300 square meter greenhouse, saying it's an average greenhouse, accommodating 1,000 tomatoes. If it's paper, it accommodates double the number. It accommodates 2,000 peppers. I mean, English cucumber is same as the tomatoes. It accommodates 1,000 plants. But when you are harvesting tomatoes on a weekly basis as an average, you have to harvest, or we expect to harvest 500 kgs on a weekly basis. Because what happens is you have 3 months vegetative, and the last week of the third month you start to pick, you start to harvest, and your harvest, we expect it to be 500 kgs per week. And you can sell those tomatoes, worst case scenario, 50 cents per kg, and they will give you 250 per week, and it translates to 1,000 per month. With that structure, you can safely say all my farm operations, they can be supported with a greenhouse. So what we have done at Agri-Rocket Engineering, we have many structures that if you use them, they accommodate all the operations while knowing that they must be interlinked, they must be integrated so that you don't waste much resources. So with that greenhouse, you know, if you are someone who is into other crops that take longer to be harvested, like if you are doing maize, you need 3 months. But on that 3 months, it's one harvest. You wait for the next season. But with a greenhouse, you can harvest continuously. So I encourage you farmers, I encourage you fellow Zimbabweans to consider greenhouse when you are doing farming. I know the prices are on the high end, but it's only on the high end to those people who are not considering the losses that can be uh, encountered or that can be on the open field farming. So at the end of the day, we need to have a business mindset. I'll give an example. You traveling with a car is cheaper business minded, or if you are business minded. Why? Because compared to someone who is traveling by foot, it's expensive traveling by foot, but though you don't pay for fuel, but you take longer to reach your destiny. Sometimes you have many obstructions in your way. For example, if it start to rain, if there is kokadoka, you need to stop, you need to sleep, you'll be distracted with other people. If you are a lady, mwangu nauda kutotanga kupfimba murodhi imomo. If you are going where there is need of speed, you are limited. If you are going to an interview, you are there, you are tired. You need to wake up early. You are tired. You can't, if kana wakanganwa chini, you can't come back and collect it and go again. So if you are in a farmer, or if you are using a car, you can run there, come back, you are fresh, you discuss, you do your meetings. If it start to rain, you just switch on your wipers. If it's kanakwadoka, you just switch on your lights. You can see less obstruction. So that's the same mindset that we need farmers to have, to know that open field farming is good for those who are starting, but aim to have modern smart agricultural structures for crops. We also have silos, all those things. There are structures for crops. We also have irrigation. We need to consider having irrigation. So for farming, any form of farming, whether um, uh, crops or animals, you need water. I'll talk about water later, but to me, water is capital. It's first thing. As an agricultural engineer, I don't allow people to do farming without having control of moisture, because all these things, they require moisture, they require water. And if you don't have control over the water parameter, you cannot say you have control over that business. You don't have control, and any result can happen to you. So I'll talk about water later. Let me go to animals. So I described and I explained the greenhouse technology for crops. I know you might have other structures that you want me to explain. I can do that for you, but for the sake of time, we need to um, to be specific with something that I know it will be of good value for you to know at the moment. So for animals, you might want to do goats, or you might want to do a cattle. All those things, they are affected by one thing. which I want farmers to know very well, that animals, like human beings, we are all animals, they are more affected with stress. Is the reason why when you are doing chicks, you need to give them, after transporting them, you need to give them stress pack. If your animals are stressed, they will not go on heat as fast as you want. Their immune system will be very weak. They will not perform. Food conversion ratio will be very low. So at the end of the day, if animals are stressed, they don't perform well. So we have structures that don't stress animals. And for example, when you are doing goat farming, when you doing kana uri kuvaka chirugwi chembuzi, we encourage you to set it above, maybe above 1 meter, 1 meter above the ground. Why? The instinct of goats ndeyekuti kune mapredators, mapere anotidya. So mbudzi wakadzivakira nechepadenga, chikwere chembudzi wakachisa nechepadenga, chinoita kuti mbudzi dzifile safe. So they are less stressed. If they are less stressed, they will go on heat very fast. You have more mbudzi dzako dzichiwanda, as well as immune system. If you feed them, you see results very quickly. If you are treating them, you see results very quickly. Like human beings, if you are not stressed, you perform very well. Health wise, you perform very well. Mentally, you perform very well. In everything, you'll be happy. And if you are happy, your food that you are eating gives you better results as well. So when it comes to animal, it's more about stress. We encourage cattle farmers to do spray races, to do because of numbers. We understand if you have a head less than 20 cattle, yes, you can use knapsack sprays. If it's above 20 animals, we encourage you to use spray races. At Agri Rocket Engineering, we do cattle spray races. We do body clamp, neck clamps, digital scales. We do also crows. We design them in a way that they don't stress your cattle. They don't stress your animals. At the end of the day, they grow very fast. They gain weight very fast. They multiply very fast. And as a farmer, that's our main objective, so that we have more profit. So with spray races, if you have animals more than 20 and less than 300, we encourage you to use a spray race. Anything above 300, I would say you need to have a plunge dip. A spray race was developed from a plunge dip. A plunge dip is more expensive and it cannot be a structure for an individual. Why? Because of the price. I said it's expensive under normal circumstances. Constructing a normal or an average plunge dip, it requires you to have somewhere a budget of 18,000 to 20,000. Even when you are using water, you need something 20,000 liters to 25,000 liters of water. And considering that there is climate change, we are now no longer receiving much rainfall. So we are now having lesser amount of water that we are receiving. So we need to use that water, considering that water is very important. So we need to save it. So with a spray race, you save water compared to old traditional plunge dips. They need much water. With a spray race, you need 1.3. You can have a spray race. In a week's time, you can have a spray race. It's a smart modern agricultural structure for animals. With a plunge dip, you need a minimum of 21 days to construct that structure. Why? Because there's more of concrete, and the concrete, full curing of concrete requires a minimum of 21 days. So it requires more chemicals. A plunge dip compared to a spray, it requires less chemicals, because chemicals are proportional, or they are a result. We use more chemicals if we are using more water, because there's an issue of ratio. So we encourage farmers, to those who want to do penny fattening, you need feeding traps. We do feeding traps at AgriRocket. You need hay feeders. We do hay feeders. We do digital scales, spray races, neck clamp. Zvokuisa mombe tambo. It's not fair. Yes, if we are starting, you start somewhere. You start where you are, but with the time you need to improve. Some vet doctors, they will never come if you don't have a neck clamp inobata mombe huro kuti unyatsoidoza zvakanaka. It saves time, it stresses it doesn't stress animals, and it gives you that flexibility for you to do whatever you want to do on your cow. So that's for animals. So, but for both animals and crops, we need to have water. At Agri-Rocket Engineering, we do modern galvanized steel tanks. These tanks, they are developed from old traditional brick and mortar tanks. As you move around, you'd notice that old farm structures, water infrastructure, were those brick and mortar tanks. And with the time, they crack. Once they have cracked, they cannot be repaired easily. Unlike galvanized steel tanks, they are faster to construct, easy to construct, cheaper to construct. They are movable. Nowadays, when we are talking of structures, we want structures that can be moved from one point to another point. Why? People are renting farms. Why? People would want to change business. Sometimes maybe you want more water, and if you change business, you'd say, I no longer need more water. So you can sell that tank. You can sell that spray race. It's movable. You can't remove a plunge deep, because you dig the ground, you construct it in on that ground, and it's fixed permanently on that ground. If you are to sell that plunge deep, you have to sell the farm. But if you want to sell a spray race for animals, you can sell it separately. Some Considering that people are renting farms, considering that technology is changing, you might end up considering doing another different business. You need to be in a position to dispose or to sell for you to have back your capital, so that you can start other businesses. So it gives you that flexibility. When it comes to water, water is life. That's the definition in general. But to me, as an agricultural engineer, I would say water is capital. Business wise, water is capital. In as much as we consider human capital, money as capital, we need to consider water as capital, because without water, you can't do farming properly. Your animals will not survive, your crops will not survive. So we need, by all means, to know the amount of water that we require for our crops, for our animals. Nowadays, we need to understand that all the decisions that we do, they must be data-driven decisions. We must do data-driven decision making. This helps us, because the assumption makes you a bad manager. You can't assume that this year we are going to receive better rains. It's a blind business. It's a blind approach. It's not good for you. Actually, it will affect you one way or the other. So we would want farmers to have control over the parameters that governs the growth of their animals, the growth of their crops. And these parameter number one is moisture. Parameter number two is temperature. And parameter number 3, it's nutrients. So for crops, number one parameter. For animal, number one parameter is water, is moisture. For crops, it's water. For animals, so ndosaka kuchiti kwakaita drought, mombe dzinofa number one, dzakashaya mvura, zvinhu mahwana atotanga, even chibage chekudzifidha or in other zvinhu zvatinoda kushandisa kufidha mombe zvinenge zviri very low, very very low. So at the end of the day, you need to understand that water is very key. And when you want to venture into farming, consider water first, because some of the things that you are going to do, if there's no water, you can't do it. You can't do horticulture. You can't do even other crops like maize. Even if you say you want to do potatoes, you can't do that. To me, like I said, you need to have an irrigation, because depending with underground water is the new norm. Unlike we used to depend with rains from above. Why? Because of climate change. There's now sometimes we might have enough rainfall, but the distribution will affect your crops, will affect your animals. We are no longer having those defined patterns. They are now haphazard. They are now affected. So at the end of the day, you need to bank water. You no longer only need to bank money. If something is capital, I believe it needs to be banked. You need to have a bulk of it where you can say, in case of emergence, you can take it and use it. So that's another structure, a modern structure, a galvanized steel tank. It's easier to clean, it's easier to install. In a week's time, you can have it and you can move it from one point to another point. So for irrigation, those who want to do irrigation and those who want to do even fish farming, you have to consider galvanized steel tanks. I also want to encourage farmers to do steel sheds. I think if you move around Harare, especially the Pomona industry area, even anyway, you'd see that when people are constructing these days, they are starting with steel frames. Those are that's a a new structure. In other words, that's our new norm. We are now considering smart structures. And when we are talking about smart structures, remember what I said. These ones, they are stronger. When we are developing modern structures, we we consider those key areas or key factors that we want, or the properties that we desire our structures to have. Then we improve them, like durability. So steel structures, they have more lifespan compared to concrete structures. So you find that these days we now have smart uh, sheds. These ones, they are constructed using steel I-beams. They are faster to construct. They are movable as well. So the properties are more like the same with the steel tanks, but you can use them for grading your tomatoes, for storage of your inputs, even for storage of your. Some have they weigh the option of having a silo and having a shed. Sometimes having a shed, it's better. Why? It is a multi-purpose structure. You can store your yield. You can even pack your tractors, your implements, so that the depreciation rate of those implements is lessened. So at the end of the day, we need to consider these structures. They allow you to produce more. using less. At the end of the day, as farmers, we need to have efficiency. We need to have speed. There's this statement. It says, time is money. I'm okay with it because many people know that. But speed is profit. You need to do your construction with speed. We need to, you need to set up your things with speed. And like I was talking of these structures, they give you efficiency, they give you speed. A sprayer give you speed because it is constructed directly on your crop. Padanga pako ipapo tobva tanoisa sprayer mombe dzichingobuda mudanga wakutodzidhibhisa dzinodhibha kawada. Even if you want to say every day, you can do it. Even if you want to repeat the process on that same day, you can do it. So it gives you speed, it gives you efficiency, it gives you the cutting edge of the competitive edge that we deserve as modern farmers. I think with this, I've said much. Maybe I would like to hear from you if you have questions, if you have something to say, a suggestion, or if you want to add something. But for today, I think I have said a lot of things. We have other things that we will share with you as we go. But for now, I think this is all I have.
Yeah, thanks, Komajam,
Mhm.
for that wonderful presentation. Maybe my question, given that when you came in,
Mhm.
we're talking to Sfiso like about the goats and all that. Is there a way that goat farmers could get spray races for goats or sheep, or it's only for cattle?
It's very possible for you to have a goat spray race. The structure is smaller than that of mombe, of cattle. But the thing is, if you have cattle, you can use that for cattle to dip your goats and your sheep. But if you only have goats, we can make a smaller one. Even a plunge dip for goats, it can be done. It must be also a smaller, so that we don't waste the resources constructing a bigger thing while least it is being underutilized. So when you are investing, you have to consider these two words. There's a term called over investment or under investment. So, like I said, we don't need to have assumptions. We need to know exactly what we want to do. So, for example, if you are buying a tractor, you need to know the size of a tractor, the horsepower, the purpose. So, when we are buying for our goats, goat sprayers is there. It's half the price of a cattle sprayers. It's somewhere around $600 a goat sprayers, a full set, and it gives you the efficient that you need. So we don't want to overinvest buying a cattle sprayers and then we use it for gods. It won't be fair on your side.
Okay, that's fine. So the 500, 600, it's all fixed and supply.
It's all
Oh,
fixed and
that's
supply. It's all fixed and supply. So the good thing about not about AgriRocket only, the good thing about proper companies, they will construct something or they will construct a spray race. They will test it even on your first dip. They will help you to use that design because this is our design, but we need you to appreciate and to know how to use it. So we need to impart that knowledge and that skill to you as well. So after construction, it's not the end of the journey. We go an extra mile as well to to be there when you are doing your dipping, to be there when you are using the sprayers as well.
okay. So when it comes to your payments, are they cash payments there and there, or there are terms that you have when someone maybe wants to engage you, maybe they want to put a spray race, or they want to build maybe other structures like the sheds, or even the greenhouses. How do you go about it?
So basically, it's not only cash basis, but when you have a payment plan, we mostly want you to come and discuss with us how would you want to structure that payment plan. But sometimes it's pointless for us to just say, if it's a payment plan, you pay it this way, which is not flexible to you. And at the end of the day, you will then default. So sometimes it's for us to discuss so that we do it in a flexible way for both parties. We accept payment plans.
That's fine. So
Mm.
guys,
Mhm.
um, I think those are the questions that I had for from Komacham. For those who have questions, you are free to ask, or any other thing that you think you want clarification from him. The floor is open. So while it's waiting for other guys to come, what do you think about the rain pipes? Like for those who are doing pastures, like if you want to put the rain pipes, maybe you want to irrigate pastures, like the permanent grasses.
Yeah, it's a good solution as well. Why? Because we have drip lines, we have rain pipes, we have pivots, we have sprinklers. So rain pipes, they are cheaper. So most of the farmers basically here in Zimbabwe, they are at an entry stage, most of them. Why? Because we are yet to have those systems. We are yet to have those structures at our farms. So even though you have been there at the farm for the past maybe 10, 15 years, but if we check the level of infrastructure, you'd see that we are still at an entry level. So having rain pipes, it's quite affordable, and you only need for per hectare. I think you need somewhere around $700 per hectare, and it performs better compared to sprinklers when it comes to grass irrigation. So I recommend that rain pipes are good.
Okay, Learning. Questions, guys? You can unmute yourself or just raise your hand if you want to engage with Mkoma Chamu. So with the stew tanks, how much did you say, by the way? Or
Okay,
where?
I didn't mention any price, but steel things are cheaper compared to brick and mortar tanks. Number one, compared to plastic tanks, because the 50,000 liter tank, it costs around 2,900 fix and supply.
Or
And
2.9?
when it comes to durability, we are talking about plus 40 years. When we are talking of plastic structures, we are talking of plastic tanks. It's somewhere around 15 years, plus or minus 15 years, is the reason why they are being given a guarantee of 12 years. We also do plastic tanks. Even if you want us to do a concrete tank, we will advise you to say, no, we have this. But maybe resources that you have, they are favoring you to have that concrete tank. We then go for that concrete tank. We can't say maybe you have cement, you have all the resources for free, and you at any given time we just say you need to have a steel tank. It doesn't make sense. So after considering all factors, that's when we would say, no, it's not good for you to do a steel tank. It's good for you to do a concrete tank. But basically, from asking from me, I favor steel tanks. Not only because I will do steel tanks, but I know the results.
That's great. Let's hear from Simkai. Go ahead, Simkai.
Thanks so much, Mkoma Chamu and our host, Mkoma Tinash, for the wonderful presentation. I've got a question on, I've got two questions. The first one is on the durability of your greenhouses and which type of material do you use, especially on the pores, to support the plastic structure. How long can I stay with that greenhouse, and what kind of material are you using? Are you using the treated pores or untreated pores? Then also I wanted to know the prices for your what do you call it, cattle crush.
Okay,
Then
kettle crusher.
cattle crusher, as well as your the other items you are saying, the spray race. That's how much is it? And I mean, because you said you do the fix and supply, I believe you'll be having a tank. I mean, what do you call it? A pump, which make the to run properly, and also this type of dip we use when you are using the knapsack, or there is a special dip to use on that race spray.
Okay, thank you very much for such an important question. This is a great question. So when it comes to greenhouses, I didn't go deeper though for the sake of time. We have three greenhouses that we do at Agri-Rocket Engineering, or in general in Zimbabwe. Those are the three dominant greenhouses. We have the wooden greenhouse. The wooden greenhouse has a lifespan of 10 years and a payback period of 1 season, considering that you are planting tomato, English cucumber, and pepper. That's when you can have a payback period of 1 season. The payback period, what are we talking about? We are saying, when are you going to get back your money that you have invested on that structure? So when it comes to treated pores and untreated pores, you can't treat all the pores on the greenhouse because we use creosote. That chemical, if it gets in contact with plastic, it hardens the plastic. The plastic then becomes fragile. It becomes brittle and rozongotanga kukreka. So when we are treating pores, or when we are using treated pores, or we use treated pores on major um, uh, on major corners, or on all the gum pores asingaite in contact with the plastic, tinoshandisa ma-treated pores. This gives durability to our structure of 10 years. So what we are considering here is we have issues of termite, but to avoid that, we use a plastic so that our gum pores, like a jumbo like, we wrap our gum pores so that they don't get in contact with the soil. Termite, they don't eat plastic. They avoid plastic. So if your gum pores are all wrapped with plastic, or where in the ground, they are not going to be affected with termite. Also, we use termite poison. When you are maintaining your greenhouse, you have to oftenly check and pour some use the oil on those chigamboots. I'm not sure if I'm explaining the way you are picturing it in a good way. So you use the oil mixed with termite poison. That oil won't spread all over underground. Why? Because it is governed by that plastic chijombo. We call it chijombo. We put concrete as well. We use bolts and nuts on these structures. If we use nails only, because when you are joining timber or when you are joining gum using nails, the nail joint is more of like piercing. If there is some vibration or some forces, it can be removed easily. So we use bolts and nuts. We tighten bolts and nuts on both ends so that bolts, when it comes to joints, bolt and nut is the best joint so far. Why? It absorbs shocks or it absorbs other forces. It can move, but it won't break. Unlike when we are using nails or welding. Welding is not as good as bolt and nut joint. So that's for the wooden greenhouse. That's what we do for the wooden greenhouse with a lifespan of 10 years. And then the metal greenhouse, it is a lifespan of more than 20 years. We use steel tubes, and these steel tubes, they can be painted. Considering that it's under a covering of a plastic, they won't be affected much with weather. So your gumpos as well, they won't be affected much with weather because they are under a plastic covering. The plastic we are talking about is the same on all the greenhouse, on the wooden greenhouse, metal greenhouse, and the hybrid that I will talk about. So the metal greenhouse is a lifespan of plus 20 years and a payback period of 2 years. Then all the joints on that metal greenhouse are bolts and nuts. We don't weld. Why? Like I said, welding is not a good joint. Weld can crack because you are trying to join two separate material here. So at the end of the day, with the vibration and other forces, that joint area will crack. Why? Because the other side might be able to accommodate more pressure than the other side. So the joint part will then start to crack. So we have another type of a greenhouse called hybrid. On a hybrid greenhouse, we are just combining the wooden and the metal. The roof part will be the metal. Why are we replacing the wooden greenhouse roof part with metal? Because when we are constructing, we use a thinner poles on top such that our structure will balance. Those thicker poles are the ones we put as columns to support the roof. So when we are replacing the roof, we are trying to increase the lifespan of the structure. While those thinner gum poles are the ones that start to reach their lifespan. They are the ones that start to fail with time. So if we replace them with the steel, we are giving them longer lifespan. So you asked something, you asked about the spray race, the kettle crusher. It's called a kettle crusher or a neck clamp because a kettle crusher can be a body clamp. A body clamp, it's there to clamp the body to reduce the fidgeting of an animal. That body clamp, it is $400. And then the neck clamp, it is $500. So the whole set, if you can buy them separately, but if you want them, it's $900. And the spray race we talked about, we said it's 1.3. The sprayers can be solar powered or petrol powered, depending with your choice. The solar powered, it goes for 1.9. The petrol powered, it goes for 1.3. I like the solar powered because it has less maintenance cost than the petrol powered. When you have considered the petrol powered because of the price, you will see that in the long run it's expensive because you need to continuously buy petrol and continuously service that pump. Unlike when you have a solar powered, even a grade one child can even start that because it's just lifting up the breaker. But with this one, you need someone who understand how to start a generator, how to service and maintain a generator. So I think with that, I have tried to answer you. I'm not sure if I have answered you properly.
Yeah, perfect. I'm getting a question in the chat box from Grace, who is asking, thank you for the presentation. Are the steel tanks suitable for household use? Then whilst you're answering that one, I'm seeing Winnet. The mic is open, and then we go to Godwin. So maybe you can answer the one in the chat box. Then we go to Winnet has closed the mic. Maybe she doesn't want to say something. Godwin,
Yes.
you can come up after he answers the one in the comment section.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so these galvanized steel tanks, they are proper for home use. They can be covered on top with galvanized sheets as well. So you'd find that this is the the new technology when it comes to water harvesting technology, when it comes to water storage technology. You'd find that in Zimbabwe, go at any manufacturing company, you'd see that they are having those things. At Pepsi, at Coca-Cola, they have those things, and you can see them even if you are passing by using maybe they are visible. Even you are not inside the company, outside the company, you can see them. They are very big, they are visible. So schools, mines, they are now considering having those things because they are cheaper, faster, easy to construct, and they are safe when it comes to drinking water.
Yeah, Godwin.
Okay. Yeah, my question is on the greenhouses here.
Mhm.
Specifically, let me say on the commercial one, I heard like you said is 1.5.
Okay,
So,
yes.
from as far as I know, you guys are based in Harare. Let's talk about somebody who is in Tare. Is there
Uh-huh.
any other additional expenses that are incurred for to go to Mtare? And if yes, how are they calculated so that if I have to put my budget, I need to know the figures. Then
Yeah,
my second question will be on the marketing phase. I heard like you said you hold the customer by the hand here. So you're holding by the hand, does it also go up to the marketing phase or is only for the production phase up until it's harvesting time, then the customer is on his own?
okay. Thank you. Thank you for
Okay.
such an important question. Um, so when it comes to we are based in Harare and we charge
Yes.
transport after 40 kilometers. But when we are charging transport, we know we are not in transport business. So
Mhm.
we are charging fuel. So we, as we speak right now, we are doing greenhouses for AU Africa University. We have done a lot of greenhouses in Mtare, even Chipinge. NGOs are considering to have greenhouses for their gardens. Compared to have open field because it's more profitable to do greenhouse farming than open field farming. So we charge for fuel cost. It's not fixed though. We need to know your distance. Then we charge somewhere around $40 per kilometer. We are flexible to negotiate, because some of the times you would find that there is another project in that direction, so you can negotiate on transport. Then the other question, it was about now I'm forgetting the second question. Can you help me
It
to
was on
remember it?
marketing.
Okay,
It was
yeah, on marketing. Um, so what we have discovered as a greenhouse construction company, after constructing a greenhouse for you, you give us a half smile. Why? Because you are saying, am I going to get my money back here? Though
Yes.
it's nice, it's good. You see, this is nice. But as an investor, you still have that part not covered. You say, I'm done with this construction part. Is it going to make sense after this? So we will help you to do a proper uh, production in the ground, in the greenhouse, as well as up to marketing. Mostly we have customers coming to us saying, can we have those greenhouse people, those people who you constructed greenhouse for? We want uh, to deal with them. Why do they prefer greenhouse people? They prefer greenhouse farmers. Why? Because number one, they are reliable. You are selling them same variety. If you have candela in that greenhouse, you produce candela each and every on a weekly basis. Number one, the size is still the same. Number two, the variety is still the same. Number three, color gradient is still the same. Shape of the tomato, all those things, they affect the market. And you are liable. I can have those tomatoes weekly, or I can know for a long time I will be having that product from you. So unlike someone who is doing open field farming, you only harvest maybe once or twice, 3 times, boom, it's gone. So the sizes, they change very fast when you're doing open field farming, and sometimes you would see that the color gradient, they change frequently, and you are no longer able to produce again. You are no longer able to satisfy your market. So we have buyers who are always coming, knocking on our doors, requesting for those, because remember, we have hotels. They don't want to have that headache of saying, we were getting tomatoes from this side, they are no longer there. This customer is charging more, is expensive. This one is a poor quality. Once they have engaged with you, they know that they are covered on quality. Once you have agreed on price, the price is not changing. You can say, this week I'm selling at this. Once you have an MOU or an agreement of saying, I'm supplying you at this price weekly, you are good to go.
No, thank you very much. That's quite answered there. And I wish if I
Okay.
was just, I wish if I was just ready, because Africa Invest is actually where I come from, and that's where my home place here. I wish if I
Okay.
was
Yeah,
just
we
ready,
are there. We are there at African Invest as we speak
I
right
wish
now.
if I was
We are
ready, I would have
doing
just
we
do
are
it now.
doing chicken fowl runs
It was gonna be
and then
super for me.
greenhouses. So they say,
No, I'm done with my question. I was just saying it was gonna be cheaper for me if I was ready now, because you are there already.
okay, yeah, it was going to be cheap. And even
Yeah.
now, we are frequently going that direction. It will be cheaper.
Mhm.
It will be cheaper for you, because the project for chicks is quite big, and we are still transporting other things that side.
Okay, I will be in touch here.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Let's hear from Simkai. Simkai is back again with his hand up. Go ahead, Simkai.
Okay, thank you. There was a question which Omar Chamu didn't answer me. It was about the type of jeep we use on the racetrack. What kind of jeep do we use on the racetrack? Thank you.
Okay, the same dip we use when we are using knapsack is the same dip we use when we are using spray race, is the same dip we use when we are using the plunge dips. The difference only comes on the ratios. So when you have that container, when you hold that container, you will see those three parts indicated. When you are spraying using a knapsack, you need to use this ratio. When you are doing a spray race, use this ratio. When you are using deep tank, use this ratio. Most of the chemicals, they have that section, they have that part well printed, clear. And if it happens that you are not understanding or it's not there, you can call the supplier. They have that um, uh, appreciation to say to say, if you are using this, you need this quantity. If you are using this, you need this quantity, and they are using this, you need this quantity. Because those are now three defined method of dipping kettles: spray race, plunge dips, and the knapsack. Is the reason why I tried to define the numbers for you to say, if you have these numbers, you need a spray race. If you have these numbers, you need a knapsack. If you have these numbers, you need a plunge tip.
Perfect. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? What's the holding capacity of the sprayers for the gods? Do you have it? What's the holding capacity like? How many can you put in, or they'll be going in a singular file?
They must go in a singular file. Though goats, they have problem with water, but with the
Yeah.
time they will be used to eat, and they will go simply knowing that we have to pass this, and we are done. So in a singular file, because if they are like in double lines, for example, the gap between cannot be sprayed. So we need them to be in a single file, so that the whole body is exposed to spraying to the nozzles.
Okay, yeah. So some are now asking for your contacts. So hoping that all of us here, we are members of the Africa Diaspora Business Platform, because I'm sure it's going to share some structures in there soon after this meeting. So if you're not a member of the Africa Diaspora Business Platform, just get in touch with me. Then I'll add you there. Then also the contacts, Komacham, if you'll be able just to put them in the chat box, you can add them as well.
Okay,
Then
okay, I
we
will
are
do
also on
so.
Facebook as Agri Rocket Engineering.
Mhm.
They are there as well, and he has got a lot of presentations again done with Kunda Chitima. For those who follow
Mhm.
Kunda Chitima, there are a lot of presentations. Some of them they were even calculating the costs of cattle, and
Okay. Yeah,
cattle business. Yeah,
mm.
so that's it. You share the contacts. So any other questions, ladies and gentlemen, for those who want to be assisted, and I'm sure this is the time that we can utilize to talk to these guys before we go to them, and them charge us for their consultation fees to come to our farms. At least today we can abuse him to
Yeah.
ask, to ask the questions that we want, and we get the answers. Yep. So I'm not seeing any mic open, Komachamu.
Okay.
Maybe given that people, maybe they've Grace is asking, do you charge site visit? Let's say they want they want to engage you to go and do a site visit. Do you charge for that one?
Site visit, we don't charge. You can come and pick us at our office free of charge, and we give you a site visit report. explaining in detail what needs to be done on a particular project that you have requested us to consider. Then if you say, you guys, you have to go on your own, we would say then we need fuel. You can give us as coupons, or you can give us as fuel, or you can give us as money for that particular journey. And we give you, because distance differ. Someone is in Cholocho, someone is in Harare. But for those who are near us, who are less than 40 kilometers, there's no need for fuel at all. We just go.
That's okay. But it's quite unfortunate that our farms are out of Harare. And there are those who are watching on Facebook. Guys, you can also get in touch with Agri-Rocket Engineering for all your agricultural services. And also maybe one thing that you can add, Mkomacham, this does not mean if you're in a communal land, you cannot do smart agriculture. Many people would think maybe this is only affecting those who have got maybe smaller plots or bigger plots or farms.
Yeah.
But I think even in the
Yeah.
communal lands, the resettlements, it can actually be done, and it can work well because they are very good perennial rivers
Exactly.
which could be used to harvest the
Mm.
water.
Yeah, yeah.
And the steam
Very,
tank, you can
very
use it to harvest water from, like, let's say you have a dam which is close by. You can
exactly.
harvest the water and store it in a steam tank, yeah?
Exactly. Remember that in science we used to have a potential energy, kinetic energy. So there's that potential energy you have in a tank. Because it's a big tank, there's pressure, water is under pressure because of the quantity. Once you open it, it will then flow with the gravity to wherever you want to put it.
Okay.